Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Trickstar deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because we finally got Trickstar Light Stage back to 2 on the last list, which helps out the consistency of this deck a lot. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name scratched in every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test stands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Trickstar Candina. This card is a great 3-of in the deck because she can search out all sorts of different Trickstar cards, because she has the ability that when this card is normal summon, you can add a Trickstar card from your deck to your hand. And just about every single one of your Trickstar monsters has some sort of burn effect, so this card has the ability that each time your opponent activates a spell or trap card, inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent immediately after that card resolves, which is a great effect to be able to use, especially during time. We then play 3 copies of Trickstar Lycoris. Trickstar Lycoris is a great 3-of in the deck. She has the ability to quick effect, reveal this card in your hand, and then target one Trickstar monster that you control except another copy of this card, special summon this card, and if you do, return that monster to your hand. And each time a card is added to your opponent's hand, you inflict 200 points of damage for each card, which is a great effect to be able to just do a bunch of burn damage to your opponent with this card. We then play 2 copies of Trickstar Korribane. Trickstar Korribane is a great 2-of in the deck because it's pretty much the Cyber Dragonish monster of the deck that has the ability that if you control no monsters, or all monsters that you control are Trickstar monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then during the damage step, when your Trickstar monster battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, and then that monster you control gains attack equal to its original attack until the end phase of the turn. And you can only use one Trickstar Korribane effect per turn, and only once that turn. This card is a great 2-of. I did consider playing it as a 3-of in this build, but with all the other tech cards that I'm playing in the deck, I ended up cutting it down to 2. We then play a single copy of Trickstar Lilybell. Lilybell is a great 1-of in the deck that can actually attack your opponent directly, and if this card is added to your hand, except by drawing it, then you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a great effect, especially with Light Stage and your copies of Candina, which is a great effect. This card also has the ability that it can attack your opponent directly, and when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, then you can target a Trickstar monster in your graveyard and add it back to your hand, which is a great effect. We then play 2 copies of Lith Lady of Lament. Lith Lady of Lament is a great 2-of in the deck, and it's just such a good tech card that if this card is normal summoned, its original attack becomes 1,000, and then quick effect, you contribute a dark monster, which is usually going to be this card that you're tributing, and then you reveal 3 traps that are normal traps in your deck, and your opponent randomly sets one of them to your side of the field, which is a really good effect to be able to just get cards like Trap Trick, or even your copies of Trickstar Reincarnation, which is a great card. We then play a single copy of Yata-Garasu, which is finally back at 1. This card is absolutely insane. I never thought I would actually get the chance to play this card, but this deck can actually Yata lock your opponent, which is why we're playing the Lith Lady of Lament, because you can actually combo it with Small World to search out your copy of Yata-Garasu, which is really, really good because they're both fiend monsters, which is really cool. But Yata-Garasu basically has the ability that when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent's life points, your opponent skips their next draw phase, which is absolutely insane. And the way you actually Yata lock your opponent is with Trickstar Reincarnation and Droll and Lockbird, and this card, which is really, really cool. We then play 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is a great 3-of in the deck, and one of the craziest hand traps to put in this deck is it has the ability that if a card is added from the main deck to your opponent's hand, except during the draw phase, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, and for the rest of the turn, cards cannot be added from either player's main deck to the hand, which is a great effect to combo with Yata-Garasu because you pretty much use Trickstar Reincarnation to get rid of their whole hand, use this card so they don't get to draw, and then on the following turn attacking directly with Yata-Garasu to be able to make sure that they don't get their next draw phase, and you essentially Yata lock them. We then play 3 copies of Effect Veiler, which is just a really good hand trap to stop your opponent's monsters' effects, so this card is a great 3-of in the deck. And then we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom, which is also a really good hand trap to be able to make sure that the opponent doesn't touch the deck. These are really good hand traps for this particular build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is really good in the deck because it gets us to our insanely powerful field spell, Trickstar Light Stage, which Trickstar Light Stage is just so good in this deck. And just a really, really good card because it has the ability that when this card is activated, you can add a Trickstar monster from your deck to your hand. And then once per turn, you can target a set card to your opponent's spell and trap card zone. And while this card is in the field spell zone, that set card cannot be activated until the end phase of the turn. And then your opponent must activate it, or if they don't activate it during the end phase, it's sent to the graveyard. And each time a Trickstar monster that you control inflicts battle or effect damage to your opponent, you inflict an additional 200 points to them, which is a crazy good effect. We then play just a single copy of Trickstar Festival. Trickstar Festival is a really good card because it generates you 2 Trickstar tokens to your side of the field, and it also has the ability that if a Trickstar monsters you control that was special summoned from the extra deck would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. And you cannot normal or special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect, except for Trickstar monsters, which is not that big of a deal because pretty much all you're going to be summoning anyways besides Yatagarasu is going to be Trickstar monsters. We then play 3 copies of Small World. Small World is a really good card in the deck because it helps us get to Yatagarasu extremely easily to be able to Yata lock the opponent, but it's a great card in this deck because it can search all sorts of different cards, and it has the ability to reveal a monster in your hand, choose a monster from your deck that has exactly one of the same type, attribute, level, attack, or defense, and banish the revealed monster from your hand face down. Then you can add from your deck to your hand one monster that has exactly one of the same type, attribute, level, attack, or defense as the monster chosen from your deck and banish the chosen target from the deck face down, which is a really good effect that basically you just get rid of a card from your hand, reveal a card in the deck, and then grab the card that you need, which is really, really good. We then play 3 copies of Scapegoat to round out the spells. Scapegoat is a really good card in this deck because it can help us link climb into all sorts of really powerful monsters, and it's pretty much an instant link 4, which can help us get into cards like Appaloosa, or copies of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax, or any really powerful link monster that we want to go for. So this card is a really, really good 3 of, and it's just absolutely insane that this card is back to 3. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing some really insanely powerful traps in the deck, starting out with Trap Trick. So we can get to our really powerful trap cards. But Trap Trick has the ability that you banish a normal trap from the deck, except another copy of Trap Trick, and set one card of the same name from your deck to your side of the field, but you can only activate one more trap for the rest of the turn, which is a crazy powerful effect because pretty much all you have to do is banish your copy of Reincarnation, and then set a copy of Reincarnation to your field, which is just really, really good. We then play 3 copies of Trickstar Reincarnation. This card is absolutely nuts in the deck. It has the ability to banish your opponent's entire hand, and if you do, they draw the same number of cards, which is really neat to combo with copies of Yatagarasu and your copies of Droll Knockberg, because you can essentially get rid of their entire hand with this card and Yata lock them, which is really cool. You can also manage this card from your graveyard and then target a Trickstar monster in the grave and special summon it, essentially being the best card in the entire deck. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is a really good hand trap, but also a really good trap card that we can search off of Trap Trick to be able to give us an additional monster negate in the deck and lock down spells and traps in a particular column, which is really, really good. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Trickstar Holly Angel. Holly Angel is a great 2-of that has the ability that it takes 2 Trickstars to make this card, and each time a Trickstar monster is normal or special summoned to a zone this card points to, you inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent. And Trickstar monsters this card points to cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. And if your opponent takes damage by a Trickstar monster's effect, this card gains attack equal to the damage they took until the end of this turn, making this card get really, really big really quickly. We then play a single copy of Access Code Talker just to be able to pop cards on the field. This card is really, really good in the deck, but you can play any basically generic Link 4s that you want to play in the deck, like copies of Borreload or Borrelsword if you don't have a copy of Access Code. We then play a single copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax because pretty much a Scapegoat equals this card very, very easily because it just takes 2 monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck, which is really awesome because you're usually going to want to go into this card with your copies of IP Masquerena and any other Link 2 monster to make this card, because then it gives it that bonus effect that IP gives those monsters, which is really, really good. But this card has the ability that when this Link Summon card is on the field, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, their monsters cannot target monsters for attacks except this one. And then once per battle, during the damage calculation, if this card battles a special summon monster, quick effect, you can make this card gain attack. You can let opponent's monsters attack during the damage calculation only. And if this link summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can shuffle one card from your opponent's field into the deck, which is a really good effect to be able to just get rid of an opponent's card and just basically keep going with your plays, while also giving you an insanely powerful boss monster that your opponent's going to have to use a lot of different resources to get rid of. We then play a single copy of Appaloosa because it's just really good in the deck to be able to make your copy of Appaloosa to give you more monster negates in this deck. One copy of Trickstar. Trickstar is really good to deal with back row, so this card is a definite one of in this build. One copy of Celine. Celine is super easy to make and helps you climb into copies of Access Code really easily by just using your copies of your Effect Veiler, which is a spellcaster type monster, to combo with this card to bring out your copy of Access Code. We then play a single copy of Unicorn to spin stuff, Phoenix to pop spells and traps, Cerberus to pop monsters. These are really good cards and just really awesome link monsters to put in this deck and super easy to make, especially with Scapegoat. We then play a single copy of IP Masquerena. IP is really good in the deck to help us climb into a copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax or Nightmare Unicorn, but this card has the ability it just takes 2 non-link monsters, so you can actually use 2 Scapegoat tokens to go into this card, and during your opponent's main phase you can quick effect immediately as card resolves, link summon 1 link monster using materials that you control, including this card, which this card also has the ability that a link monster that uses this card as a material cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects, which combos with all the other effects that Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax already has, which is just really good. We then play a single copy of Needle Fiber because all of our hand traps besides Draw and Lockbird are actually tuners, so it's really easy to make this card in the deck and then climb to a copy of Celine, and then Celine will bring out your copy of Access Code because you summon an Effect Veiler off this card's effect and then use this card and your copy of Effect Veiler to go into your copy of Celine, and at the end if there's 3 spell cards on the field or in either player's grave, you can basically remove the 3 spell counters, bring back Effect Veiler that you summoned off your copy of Needle Fiber, and then climb into Access Code, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Security Dragon. Security Dragon is just really good because it's generic and it just takes any 2 monsters to make this card, so you can make it really easily in this deck. A single copy of Link Spider for the Scapegoat tokens, and finally a Link Revo for the Scapegoat token. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play, especially when you pull off the Yada Lock combo for the deck. It's just absolutely insane and just super fun to be able to play. I really love this deck, and I'm so glad that we finally have Light Stage back to 2. Hopefully on the next list we get it back to 3, and if we do, I'm definitely doing an update of this deck, so definitely be on the lookout for that. So this deck is just super fun. But anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.